great debauchery stories or anything with a donkey party or I don't.
Hey, everybody out there in podcast land. Guess what? We're back. My name's Kevin McLaughlin, and this is the Riffs and
Rhythms podcast. I'm Paul Robertson. So how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good.
Good. You do look a little chipper here. We're doing.
It's misleading. I've got my safety shirt on in case of deep water accident.
I was going to ask you about that, but I didn't know how you'd feel about me calling you out about that bright orange shirt. So I have a feeling that the tree trimming crew along the road here is missing a traffic cone.
And ready in case I didn't need to do a cross-Atlantic flight in a Boeing airplane.
Okay, I was. Wow, that's too soon, man. You're flying right out the window there. So I was
too much. Is that too soon? Do we have to beep that out?
Or was the the sheriff's detail, the cleanup crew along I-95? You got a little break from your community service?
Yeah, but I can go home during the week so I can work. It's okay.
Well, hey, before we start here, I know you've got some really good traction going on with Beer 30, right? So with Beer 30 there, man, let's go ahead and. There you go, Beer 30 there.
Crack one open, turn it upside down.
Actually, the clock says 6:45, but we'll call it beer 6:30.
It's always Beer 30.
There you go. Cheers. So yeah, you got some good following on some of your stats. I see you posting about people listening.
Actually, I need an engineer to help me design a clock so that, the big hand is always pointed down, but then the whole clock turns. So that it always looks like it's Beer 30, but you could still tell the time.
By looking over at our guest on the couch there that we're going to introduce here in a moment there, his brains is already thinking, because I think he's a guy who likes to tinker with that kind of stuff, that he may actually produce something like that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's introduce the podcast here. You want to give the honors?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen. He forgot his name. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know who
that guy.
It's Bryan from Bubble Up.
We've got Bryan Hill here.
Yes.
The one and only.
Hey.
Yes. How you doing, man?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, so we learned, or at least I learned about you, Bryan, is from Jeff and Bryan's podcast episode there, right?
Isn't that a coincidence? Because that is just how I learned about you.
All right, very cool.
No kidding.
Yeah, awesome.
So, Bubble Up Guitar Works. Tell us all about that.
Oh, long story. You got time?
Yeah.
Uh,
Wait, no.
You got as long as the memory card lasts.
Well, I mean, as far as the business itself, we're talking about a 10-year span. This is my 10th year anniversary.
Congrats.
On the
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's good.
On the Treasure Coast of Florida. Started out as a front living room shop, if you would, in my house in Palm City in 2014. And has now graduated to a full-time shop in a business park in Stuart, Florida.
So, what do you do there?
What do you need done?
I've got a few people I don't like very well. Can you get rid of them for me?
I do have lots of property,
Good,
Kevin.
good.
I've got lots of property out in northwest
Backhoe?
Okeechobee. So
Oh, that's where the Mud Bog concert was we talked about.
yes,
It was,
the
yes.
prairie.
Yep, out to the prairie.
Yes. But I do, dude, I do so many things. All your normal stuff, setups, fretwork, nuts, saddles, tremolo systems,
So you fix guitars.
pickups, electronics.
Rock on.
I do modifications, customizations. But what I don't do is manufacture specifications. I have no idea what Gibson specs are. I have no idea what Fender specs are. Gretsch, Washburn, you name it. I don't know. What do I know? I know how a guitar feels, how it should feel, how it should play, and how it should sound. And every instrument is individually different. So, yeah, what do I don't do? I spray, refinish, violins, cellos, upright basses, electric guitars, bass guitars. That's about it. anything with strings on it. Now I'll cut off at a piano. It's way too many strings for
Yeah,
me.
the strings are on the inside for a piano, so.
Well, if you need a piano guy, I got one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I like that. He says, I only do 6 strings, okay? No more than 6. Okay,
Oh, no.
maybe 7.
I do 12. I do 36. I've done some harps. I've done a lot of weird things that most of your normal shops probably won't take on just because they either A, don't have time, or B, just really don't know what the hell they're doing.
See, this would have been, Kevin, this would have been the guest for National Guitar Month. Maybe next year we'll figure this out.
Well, maybe it's fortuitous.
Oh, I ain't
It's-
going
it's
anywhere.
It's National Mental Health Awareness Month.
Oh, okay. So are you implying something?
Well, we should all be aware of the fact that mental
Brian
health
Hill is mentally
is not a given.
unstable.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me work on your guitar.
Come on down.
Yeah, it calms him down. Bring a guitar.
Oh. So Brian, so we learned about, as we said, about, give shout out there to Bryan and Jeff and Rain Cat Studios, those guys, and they were talking about strings, that all their guitars in their studio is with a certain kind of string. Again, being the drummer, I don't know shit really much about guitars, so which he can attest and see, but yeah.
For you, it's a comparable item to drum heads or cymbals.
Okay.
Guitar strings are a whole different monster. And I was taken back by Jeff and them throwing that out there. I had no idea. And I'm the Treasure Coast distributor from Vero down to Palm Beach Gardens of Blue Magic Strings. And here these guys are buying them online, which is the only way you can buy them. But he has strung every instrument in the studio with these strings. And I was like, holy shit, that's cool. And, I have a deep respect. It's like you said in your cast, we've never met. We know each other through social media.
Right.
But we've never shaken a hand. We never had a phone call. And then I see him doing this, and I was like, wow, that's power. It's powerful. It shows you the power of a product. And then that emboldens me because I've been standing behind this product for almost 2 years. And to have somebody of that caliber jump up there and say that was like a big thank you.
Yeah.
And I appreciated it. And I told the owner, and he was like, holy shit. He texted me back.
That is specifically the reason why you are here, actually.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Yeah. So thank you, Rain Cat guys. Thank you, Blue Magic Strings, and thank you, Rhythms.
That's right.
Yeah, we were like, well, we need to get some guests on here. Jeff just talked about Bryan Hill. Let's get him.
Yeah, and that's the cool part, right, Brian? Is that we always help grow our show. It's like it's the question now of tune in to find out who gets talked about, right? There's names and people and drops and that's the cool thing I've always said about mostly the Treasure Coast community, music community is. It's really tight,
It's tight, very tight.
Yeah. And like you said, okay, maybe you guys haven't crossed paths. You guys everyone's busy doing their own thing, but that's super cool. That when you say, "Oh shit," somebody mentioned me, unsolicited, out of the nowhere, and I was just threw me for a loop, and I thought that was really cool, man, and yeah, so thank you guys for having that episode. Yeah,
rock on. One of the cool things about the Treasure Coast music scene, and there's a very, very rare exception, but we pretty much all recognize that we're pounding through the same trenches. There's no reason why we shouldn't help each other.
Well, and that's, you say that, and here's another part of the Blue Magic equation, or whatever you want to call it. They are a grassroots-oriented, localized. They want to promote the local guys. They don't want the national artists. They don't want all the big humblah, Slash. Well, I don't want Slash playing my strings. Robert Butterworth would shit his ass if Slash ever played his strings. But that's not his goal. His goal is he wants Kevin McLaughlin. He wants Antonio Bolle. He wants Gary Shutt. He wants, all your small marks. There's so many names to throw into the Treasure Coast guitar players.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how many clients I have.
Oh.
I know it's over 500.
Wow.
So these strings. So these magical strings like Jack and the Beanstalk. Tell us about these strings.
Okay,
Actually,
I think you're going to like these better than any of the other products they have. And these are pure nickel. In other words, they've got a higher nickel content than the regular string that they produce or that the regular string that anybody else is producing. So here you go.
Rock on. And it's quite attractive packaging, I must say.
And,
that's what she said.
and
Oh wait, she's sitting right over there.
so the difference. What's the difference? You know, I've been shared a lot of information with these guys, but it comes down to this: it's a proprietary formula that they're using, where they are actually infusing the nickel into the core string, versus your traditional nickel plating, which is what everybody else is doing. So what they found was it eliminates what happens with every other string, which is they rot from inside out. And it doesn't happen with these. They also found that these stay in tune better, and they just feel great, and that feeling does not go away. So try them out. I want, and feel free to feedback on this channel. On this channel right here. I mean, Robert Butterworth knew that I was coming to do this tonight. He knows I'm bringing you those. And I have his blessing as part of the Blue Magic family. And if you like them, get in touch with me. We'll get you hooked up and get you into the family.
I like the fact that it says custom made in America.
America.
And that's not, you know, me and you just talked about that earlier. There's 5 major manufacturing facilities in the world.
Yeah, for guitar strings.
For
That's
guitar
it.
strings.
That is, so Brian, that is amazing in itself. Okay,
It is.
right. The amount of millions and millions and billions of guitar players around the world, only 5. So we were talking just briefly. I hear listening to you guys talking earlier about that, where some COVID stuff and things in the business and whatnot. But talk about the supply chain issues that went on. Think about that kind of stuff. Is where
That's exactly what brought me on board. I was an Ernie Ball distributor prior to this, and with the COVID shutdown and all that, it was hell to get a decent pack of strings in.
You couldn't even buy strings.
So when I finally started getting strings in, I noticed I'd unwrap the planes. And right off the bat, there's rust spots all over them.
Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah, I've
And
bought
I'm
strings
like,
like that.
So I called my guy at Ernie Ball. And I'm like, hey, bro, I can't string my clients' guitars with these. And he's like, yeah, we got some storage issues and blah, blah, blah. Just send them back, man, and, we'll replace them. Well, that got to be like a weekly ordeal. I can't do that. I'm a one-man shop. I don't have time to be
Dealing with all that.
dealing with all that
Yeah.
shit. So that's when these guys, another luthier on the West Coast, I noticed him promoting them on his site. And I was like, dude, what's this all about? And he's like, you don't know? Fuck no, I don't know. Tell me. And he's like, oh, man, he's the greatest strings on the planet. And I'm like, I'd heard it so many times before. In my lifespan, I started off with Dean Markley in the 80s.
Yeah, I used to get a kick out of the old Dean Markley packaging. They had this secret picture in the background.
Yeah,
fun.
and they were great for a long time, and then they got bought and sold. It's just like everybody. Everybody gets bought and sold, and then product turns to shit. And the owner of this company promised me, he said, this is not what I'm setting up to do. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
He said, you need a string manufacturer. I want to be your string manufacturer.
And that's big to say manufacturer, because like when I think of string manufacturing, I think of those old newsreels of Pennsylvania steel where they got the 200-gallon molten metal pitcher,
Pour it in place.
pouring it in place, and then extrude it. Like if we live in the future, it's probably not like that anymore. But there's a reason why only 5 in the world, because it's not easy to do.
Well, it's not easy to do. It's hard to source the parts and the labor. The labor alone, everybody knows. Today's labor force sucks.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's like, Bryan, why don't you hire somebody to help you in the guitar shop?
Yeah, we had that conversation not long ago.
Yeah.
So are we gonna get a product review from you on this?
I don't know. I've never actually done a product review on purpose.
Well,
yeah,
I
there you
would
go.
like one.
All right. Yeah, well, I'll definitely inform everybody of what I find because I am a connoisseur of strings.
They
matter.
You throw it on your guitar. You play very frequent, so you're definitely going to get use out of it, and give your honest review. And I think that's Bryan's.
And this is what I'm going to tell you. I want you to keep those on as long as you don't notice a tonal difference, a tuning instability, or a feel that you just don't like anymore.
So I have kept my strings on for a long time and noticed the curve of what goes on. Mm-hmm. And as strings age, first thing that starts to go is their flexibility. Like they're real stretchy at first, and they go out of tune real quick. And then after that goes away, they're stable for a little while. And then the high end starts to roll off. And then after that, the sustain of the string starts to decrease because
You're on point, dude.
It's getting rust spots in the middle of it, which is dampening the vibration. And sometimes, if it's really bad, the harmonics will go out of tune on a string.
Oh, harmonics the first thing to go.
Then what happens is after a while, if the string stays stable enough to use longer than that, then what ends up happening is the low end starts to disappear.
Yep. You're just spot on. You know what you're talking about.
I've been playing guitar for a couple minutes now.
Wait, Bryan, are you indulging his ego that he knows what he's talking about? Is that
no? But I like the fact that he's throwing this out there because it's the perfect publicity.
This is my experience in using strings,
and he knows. And all the other people that have come back to me after they've tried these and say, I need more. And they're like, where can I buy them? You can only buy them online. He won't retail them. If you're in a pinch, you can come to me.
Right.
But no, he wants you to buy online. He'll ship to you the next day, UPS, United States Post Office Service. Cost-wise, you're right in line with everybody else.
So do you retell that story before we started, hit the record on the camera here, was you guys were chatting a little bit about, the company, and you're really promoting. It's like you were like, hey, I want to tell people about how awesome this product is, and they reached out to you and say, whoa.
Yeah,
a good bad problem to have, right?
No, it was,
yeah.
And we had talked, me and the owner, and he had sent me what they call the crack pack, and it's a it's a sampler pack of a couple of the different gauges, a couple of the different varieties that they have, and he's like, try these out, and if you like them, let me know. So I did, I did a double blind test and started releasing them, as part of my normal setup thing, and I wouldn't tell my customers any different. And I just noticed that people started coming back going, hey man, what are these strings? I mean, and this is out of the blue. This is, not solicited, they have no idea. But their first thing was, hey man, what are these strings? And I was like, man, that's fucking wild. So, I got to pushing them. I try to, my social media people tell me 1 post a day minimum. You post once a day on Instagram and then cross-feed it to Facebook and you're good. If you get more than that, so be it. But, it's hard for me to even get on social media, period. But anyway, so we've been in this to a while, and I'm starting to put in some pretty hefty orders because I'm moving some guitars, and I get this call. And it's the owner, Blue Magic. He's like, hey, man, you got a minute? And I was like, yeah. He's like, hey, first off, I just want to thank you for, doing a great job. You told us what you'd be able to do when we signed you up. And your orders have been fantastic. And the purchases from the East Coast of Florida have almost quadrupled. And I'm like, oh, no shit. And he's like, yeah, no shit. And I'm like, that's cool, dude. Well, thank you, you know. And he's like, but it's killing me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, we're having a little bit of a keep up with the orders issue. He said, man, I don't want you to stop, but I need you to pull back. Just ease back on the reins just a little bit, Bryan, and help me out. Give me some time to get some issues resolved. And I said, all right, cool, you know. And he went by, called me back a few months later and said, hey, you know, go ahead and ramp back up again. I think we got, you know, all the issues resolved. And he's still got some, you know, some mountains to cross. But being a small business, that's just the way it is.
Right. So where are they based out of?
Out of Tampa, Florida.
Oh, okay. It's a Florida company.
Yeah, they're a Florida-based
I'm all
company.
about Florida stuff.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's
man.
awesome there. So yeah.
That was a selling point for me too, Kev. I was like, damn, man, in Florida?
Yeah.
You make strings in Florida? Who the fuck makes strings in Florida? Who makes strings in the United States?
Right, right.
Much less Florida, right here in our backyard.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that is cool.
Okay. Being a drummer, I find that pretty cool.
It is cool. Even if you're not a drummer, it's still cool.
Yes. So yeah. So do you? That's awesome. That, like I said, you were so sold into it, believed into it, that promoting, and you've got the owner of the company. It's like
I saw it through my client's eyes.
right.
You know, it's like I was telling you earlier. I did a double blind test at first and told people, hey, these are the yearning balls I quoted you, or these are the whatever I quoted you, you know. And I had some clients that are steadfast, bald Theodorio guys, and their first thing was, shut the fuck up. These ain't yearning balls. You know, and I'm like, huh? And they're like, these aren't yearning balls. What are these? And I'm like, dude, they're Ernie Ball Slinkies. And he's like, fuck you, Bryan. I've been playing Ernie Balls my whole life. I've changed them week in, week out. These are not Ernie Ball strings. What are they? Fuck, Blue Magic strings. Where are they made? Right here in Florida. I love them. Okay? And it was like that, and it started taking off like a wildfire. And it wasn't. And these are some pretty high-end clients. This is Antonio Belay from In the Light of Led Zeppelin. He was one of my first guys to sign on. And then his bassist, Autumn Martini, she tried the bass strings. And she was a little bit of a different sell. She didn't like them at first. And it got down to where we finally had a big gig in a big theater with a nice rig. And she's a Mesa girl. And I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to set up one bass. She had two identical sister basses. So we're going to put the DR Black Beauties on one bass, and we're going to put the Blue Magic Sonora strings on the other. And so we went, and she's got two transmitters, so we just jumped back and forth. And I'd play a little, and she'd play a little. And then she'd go, let me have that. And she started playing that, messed with her EQ a little bit. And then Antonio came out, and we're all sitting there just watching her play. And you could tell right then, it just, doop, clicked. And she was like, I'm playing this bass tonight. And Robert Butterworth happened to be attending the show, the owner of the company. And I was like, well, I think you just got another bass player on you. But she's finally on board. She needed to hear it on a big stage. Yeah. And through a real PA and through a real rig on a nice wide stage, and not a club situation where, you know, the bass rig is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right.
Turn the guitar down.
No,
Fuck you.
No, I have come to a realization as a guitar player that the phrase too loud is something that only applies to other people. And I'm completely serious.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's true.
So, yeah, man. So, it's been a hell of a ride. It's been great to be on board. And it's great to just go over, pick out the gauge I need, put them on the guitar I'm working on, and it goes out the door and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
I ain't got to worry about it no more.
No, that's.
So you also do, like, you do guitar teching, like on live tours and stuff, right?
I did back in the day, and that's something that's kind of gone away. COVID shut everything down, and that's when we was in the middle of a big tour within a lot of Led Zeppelin. I was stage manager and guitar tech and tour manager, for lack of better terms. I had many hats, not to mention truck driver and trailer rigger. But anyway, that shut everything down, and I didn't have no money coming in. And, I'd had the guitar shop out of my house, and my wife had kind of slowly watched her formal dining room turn into, 2 benches and tools on the wall and shit everywhere. And Jonathan Hatchett, y'all know him as Hatchett, Jontos.
Yeah, I know Jonathan.
He approached me, and he was like, "Hey, dude, we got this room in the back there on Willoughby, and we don't use it, but it'd give you a business location, and maybe you can start pushing the business a little bit more and try to make some money doing that, And I was like, what else am I gonna do? Yeah. Nobody knew when touring was coming back. Nobody knew when the next paycheck was coming, if it was coming. We was all gonna die for lack of a better term. So what the hell else I got to lose? So I threw everything I had at it. And, the corporation had been LLC'd since 2016. So, we opened up shop, started doing some advertising, grassroots marketing, stuff like this. And, the old saying of build it and they will come. Holy shit. If you'd have told me 4 years ago that I'd own the busiest one-man repair shop on the Treasure Coast of Florida, I'd have laughed my ass off at you. But here we are. Here we are.
Congratulations, man. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think that's something, too, is about, so that was during COVID, right? You had to pivot. And, I'm always, on the other podcast that I do, is always interested in talking to, especially the rum companies or the brands or even some of the musicians, like, start talking through how you made it through COVID. And again, it's great to hear.
Oh, there's a million
stories, you know what I mean?
Out there.
It's,
yeah.
And
there's some pretty.
There was a lot of scary times, I'm sure, that it was like, I'm not sure about this, and to see now through the other side of it is, we're still here. We made it through. It was rough, but
in the end, we won.
Yeah, right.
And like you said, pivot. A lot of people had to pivot.
Yeah,
and it's always been, that's the American way, reinventing yourself, reinventing what you do. And sometimes it's hard to think through, and then sometimes you need to be pushed.
Yeah.
A little bit. And COVID was a great pusher.
Yep.
Pushed some people off the cliff, but it also pushed some people into some great things. So, it's a win-win for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, right?
But yeah, to answer your original question, that's how I got into this crazy business of guitar teching and such. And I worked on the road in my younger days extensively, and grew up in the business.
Yeah, and speaking of the business, that's how we met.
Yeah, we did. I forget what year it was. It had to have been.
It was
16?
6 or 7 years ago, at least.
Been 16?
Probably 16.
16?
So weren't you guys just talking earlier about some email that you sent to someone and say, who the fuck are you or something like that? That's how I heard. That's how I heard.
All right, so
I remember it a lot better now that he had some people to answer to, and I just did not help him in any way.
he didn't. He left me right out there. Here you go.
Brian,
Sorry,
I'm
Brian.
the Kevin McLaughlin. Do you know who you're talking to?
No,
It wasn't
it
that
came across
bad.
backwards from what I intended.
It was, and I knew who Big Pine Band was at the time, and they were hitting on all 8 at this time. And matter of fact, Jake Walden had just started playing with you guys.
It was before Jake's time, actually.
No, Jake was there then.
Oh, Jake was there, wasn't he?
He was there then.
Yes,
This is right on the beginning fringes. of
Okay,
that.
yeah.
And and you were up in the social media thing, and I knew who you guys were. Smoke, Jake, you, Mickey, who's the bass player?
Randy?
Randy Finn.
Andy Finn, yeah.
Yeah. And who was the drummer at the time?
Who was the drummer at that point? I think that was like the first gig.
As usual,
One
he
of the first
forgets.
gigs that we had Zeke on drums.
I think it was Zeke.
Kid.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you remember that night, I brought the In the Light of Led Zeppelin folks up, and they did your break and played an instrumental Zeppelin
Oh,
set.
dang. I had forgotten all about that.
Yeah. So anyway, I had never been to a Big Pine show. I just knew who they were through social media. And I was in charge of this big shindig out where we live, and in charge of hiring the band. And so I said, well, let's hire the best thing on the Treasure Coast, and let's get the Big Pine band in here. And my buyer was like, no fucking problem, blah, 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 blah. So everybody started, asking me questions on Facebook and whatnot, well, who's this band, and, blah, 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 what kind of music do they play, and what are some of their songs? All this typical bullshit you see on social media, and I'm like, how do I answer this? So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to email Kevin. And I mean, dude, it's not, I don't know, 15 minutes later, I get this reply. We don't do covers. We do our original music. I can send you some set list if you need. Kev.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just hung him out to dry.
Wow.
I was trying to communicate the fact that, like, we're nobody. You never heard of what we do. It's okay. We'll be good. But
You're nobody, but you came off that you were somebody.
instead, it
I
came
tell you
across
what,
like, you
that-
know what, you're screwed. 'cause
After them
nobody
guys
knows what we're
played
doing.
that night, that was the talk of the prairie. That was all.
Oh, yeah?
That was all I heard about. Oh man, that band. We gotta get that band back for New Year's. We gotta get that band back for July 4th. We gotta get that band back. They were awesome. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And I'm like, welcome.
Brian, you know where I learned about Big Pine at?
Who? Where?
My first, and before I actually even knew Kevin, was I heard about Big Pine at the Mac and Cheese Fest in St. Lucie.
Oh, no kidding. You were there? Yeah,
Yes,
we played Mac and Cheese Fest. We made it the big
The
time.
Mac and
We're
Cheese.
playing a side
Fest.
dish festival.
Oh my God, that's funny.
That event was great. Actually,
It was a great. That was a
Yeah,
great
it
event.
good-
That was
yeah.
out in tradition, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah. We played after Summer Gill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's crazy. The Mac and Cheese.
The Mac and Cheese Festival.
Next was the Meatball Fest.
Yeah, I was like, really? We can't get like a main dish festival. We got to play this side dish festival.
I don't know. According to my kids, the mac and cheese is can be the
Oh,
main.
that-
yeah.
That's the first course.
That's right. Yeah, there's a place here in Jupiter called I Heart Mac. It's actually it's a little gourmet up. Kind of you can make your own mac.
I bet you they got the best lobster mac going.
Oh yeah.
Ah,
Well, other than going to Maine, right? Fresh lobster, but yeah, for sure. So all right. Anyway, so yeah, Big Pine.
that name has been coming up a lot lately.
It has.
That was a good band. I really enjoyed playing with that band.
It was one of the Treasure Coast finest put together.
I'll tell you a story. I was playing with the Kevin McLaughlin band a couple months ago at River Days Festival up in Sebastian. And I'm playing one of my songs. It's called Day by Day. And this guy comes up and he's like, "You can't play that song. What are you doing? That's Big Pine music."
Oh, that's funny.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I've got that CD. You can't fool me. You can't say that's your song.
God.
I've got that CD and I listen to it in my truck every day. And that's a Big Pine song." And I'm like, "Well, I got a right to play it because I wrote it myself. I was in that band." He's like, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah, look at your CD cover. You'll recognize me."
How much did you look different in the CD cover than?
Not at all.
No, he doesn't change much.
Yeah, I look the same. Well, a little older, maybe, but not much. But yeah, it's okay to reuse songs that you wrote.
Oh yeah, for
different
sure,
bands.
for sure.
Of course it is.
Yeah. So Brian, so you were talking about guitar teching and all that. So what's some of the you got a Tales from the Road here? Being a tech, I'm sure you've seen some great great debauchery stories or anything with a donkey party?
I signed a lot of legal paperwork that allows me not to disclose things. No, I'm kidding.
You can say allegedly. Remember, we said allegedly, right?
Allegedly. Man, dude, I've been blessed to work with the likes of Robert Gay, Eric Lundgren, Gary Rossington, Jay Johnson, Timmy Lindsay. List goes on. That was just the Jackson. That was the 80s. Dave Lubeck, Danny Joe Brown. I won't mention the other one, just for personal reasons.
Yeah, cool.
And we'll talk about that, I guess, some more here later.
There you go.
But yeah, Rick Bland's.
Brian, did you so we're talking. So I grew up in so I'm a transplant, but did live in the Daytona area for quite a few years. I went to high school with. Does the name James Hogan ring a bell?
James Hogan.
But how long have you been down here in Treasure Coast?
Oh, I just moved down here in 2004. Hurricane.
Okay, yeah.
Hurricane year.
Just in time for all the fun.
Oh man,
Yeah.
what a year!
Yeah, that was 20 years ago. This
Yeah,
this year
right,
will
yeah.
be the 20th anniversary
20th
of.
anniversary, man.
Yeah.
So
Next lawnmower I
Three in
buy.
a row.
Next lawnmower I buy, I'm going to name it Francis Jean.
What a name! You need to write a song, Francis.
Francis Jean. That actually
Yeah.
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. But so I moved down here in 2004. Before that, I left Davie, Florida, in 1982. So yeah, we moved to Jacksonville in 1982. I graduated, of course, in '84, and I just young kid in the right place at the right time. Was hanging around a bunch of high school friends that knew this killer band, and they were the biggest, baddest thing coming out of Jacksonville next. We already had a whole list of people in front of us. Leonard Skinner, 38 Special, Molly Hatchet, Allman Brothers. The list goes on and on. But these were going to be the next guys. And so I used to hang out at the studio every day and. I started playing guitar when I was 12, and I never really got to the point where I enjoyed playing out in front of people. But I was always the kid that everybody brought their shit to that said, hey, man, can we, put this Floyd Rose in? Hey, man, can we, put these pickups in? Hey, man, can you take this neck off and put another neck on? Can we flip-flop these necks? Or can we flip-flop these bodies? Just weird shit. And I was like, yeah, why not? Try it out. And, everybody's like, how did you learn to do that? And I was like, dude, I probably fucked up more classic vintage guitars than you've ever played.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the 80s were the year of destroying vintage value.
Oh, man. So, anyway, this guy in the band, this guitar player in the band, I just started, I don't even know how it happened. I just started teching for him. Tuning his shit before rehearsals and making sure his amps were on and all that kind of shit. And so we went out and did a couple big shows in Playground South was the concert place back then in Jacksonville. And hell, I wasn't even old enough to get into the place, but I was with the band, so it didn't matter. So then when they started opening up for, they opened up for Molly Hatchet on the Double Trouble. Double Trouble was recorded that night at the Florida Theater. The band I was working for opened up that show.
Wow.
And Double Trouble Live was captured on audio that night. Night after that, or a few months after that, it was Van Zandt. And we opened up a show that was broadcast on, what was the old syndicated midnight?
Westwood One?
Yeah, it was Westwood
Night
One.
Flight?
No, it wasn't Night Flight, but Midnight Express.
Oh, Midnight Express, yeah.
Or something like that. But, they had this big recording truck out in front of the Florida Theater and all these satellites and all that shit, and I was like, yeah, Johnny Van Zant's going live all over the world tonight. And I was like, Man, we're getting ready to open up this show. That's some pretty cool shit. So, long story short, just like the Treasure Coast community is a very tight-knit community, so was Jacksonville back then. And if y'all remember, it was like 1984 that We're the World and all that kind of stuff was going on. Well, the radio rock station, Rock 105 in Jacksonville, Florida, decided they wanted to do a thing for the homeless people, which basically all the different artists for all the different bands in Jacksonville get together. So they had some guy write a song, kind of like We're the World, and it was We Are Jacksonville, blah, 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 blah. And we all went down to the big studio in Jacksonville, and that's where I got to meet Alan Collins, Gary Rossington,
Wow.
Leon, Artemis.
Wilkinson, Artemis Pyle.
The Van Zant guys from the Johnny Van Zant band, the guys from Molly Hatchet, Greg Allman was there,
Wow.
Dickie Betts came in, and all the guys that I'd been playing with in this other band, which we won't name. But, and long story short, made a lot of contacts. And I was working at a music store at the time on the west side of Jacksonville called American Music. And Brian Evers came in, and he was the tour manager for the Johnny Van Zant band. And he's like, man, what do you know about keyboards? Now, this is 84, so MIDI coming out, exploding, sequencers, keyboards running keyboards, everything's plugged up together and running itself and type shit, I'm like, dude, not me. And he's like, man, I need a keyboard tech just for 2 weeks. And I was like, man, I got nothing. I don't even know who to, But I had done some keyboards for this other band. Tom Cover from Louisiana was an old CP3 and had a DX7 and had a Hammond B3 with the Leslies were in stereo. One would spin right, one would spin left.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, it was badass, dude. It was heavy as fuck to carry around.
I didn't even know they did that.
Oh, yeah. No, we made it do this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we reversed the power so the motor turned backwards, right? So anyway, I was talking to the owner of the store, my boss, later on. I was telling him, I said, yeah, you know anybody that knows knows how to do keyboards? And told him the story. He's like, wait a minute. Brian Evers came in here and asked you if you could handle keyboards for 2 weeks on the road? Oh, yeah. He said, Brian, do you realize how much money those guys spend in my store each year? He said, they're my bread and butter. He said, dude, I will pay you to take 2 weeks off. Go out and take care of them if you can do it.
Oh, no kidding.
And I was like, man, I don't know. So I called Brian back, and we came to an agreement, And I was like, dude, I'll do, you got to have your tech, your keyboard player show me everything, So the first day at rehearsals, we're marking everything out, This is number 1 cable, and this goes here, and this goes here, and making snakes, and freaking putting stuff together. But that was how it started. I didn't realize it, but we were going out on the Night Ranger Midnight Madness tour, opening up for fucking Brad Gillis and Blades and fucking gang.
That was their second album, right?
Yeah. Sold out arenas, 20,000 seats and up. And here we are, a little old band from Jacksonville, and I never went back to that music store. I ended up taking over. We kept keys on tour for a while, and then they dropped them. And Brian was like, dude, you just take over guitars. That's what you do. So I started being guitar tech, and then Brian quit.
Oh, wow.
When things, I told you earlier, the Geffen label dropped us, and things got pretty bad. Johnny was ready to quit the fucking business. Get out. He's done with it. It's cutthroat business. Fired his management, fired everybody. And I did my best to keep it going. And then little did we know 1987 would roll around, and here comes, the Leonard Skinner tribute tour. So, and that's a whole nother story. You want to hear that one too?
How about you save that story for next week?
Yeah,
How about that?
come back next week, and it's not over yet, but we're going to have you come back next week if you're good with that.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Rock on.
I'd like to do that.
Rock on.
Very
So
cool.
you started next week. Started up with the 1987 tribute tour.
Okay.
That'll be your tale from the road then.
All right.
So, Brian, so do you got an MVP shout out there? Somebody you're gonna want to recognize there. Part of
Man, we talked about this earlier, and I only got one, huh?
Well, you can say again if you got.
Well,
another
I mean,
next week,
dude, I
too.
really want to thank Bryan and Jeff at Raincat.
Okay, there you go. That works. That
them
works.
guys turned me on to this whole thing. You guys, this whole podcasting thing. I mean, I woke up that morning and my phone was going nuts, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" And I said, can I do an MVP? Yeah, I want to do Brian Hill over there, Bubble Up's guitars, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I started watching it, and I was like, oh my God, this is cool. So yeah, thank you too. But if I have to, I got a mentor, a guy that when I first started doing this, and I want to say around 2015, 16. You got a minute? I mean, we got time.
Yeah.
Go for it, brother.
We met, believe it or not, back in '86. Long story short, we were playing there. Van Zandt was playing there. He was in a band around from that area, and he was a Johnny Van Zandt fan. So he come up and we started talking backstage. He was a guitar player for that band. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, long story short, all these years later, in social media, years apart, and I'm talking 2015 from 1986, and I find this guy, and he's got a music store in Lemoyne, PA, of all places.
I've never even heard of that.
It's right outside Harrisburg.
Okay.
Okay, and it's the go-to music store in the Philly, Pittsburgh, that general area. And he's does guitars in the back, and he's got a sales force out front. It's kind of like the Wolf Guitars of Lemoyne.
Okay.
But this guy, he's just he's way above me in what he does and what we do. And he was always the one I set the bar. And I would watch him on social media and watch his posts and watch him turn real 59 Gibsons that have been totally bastardized by idiots into the relic that they once were, replacing woods.
Oh wow.
Oh, he'd go back and take out tremolos. People fucked up and put a freaking Floyd Rose in a 59.
Ugh, that really happened.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and getting rid of a lot of
And
wood.
this dude would fill that. He would fill those voids with mahogany. And this is not just your go out and buy mahogany. Greg had woods. He had Gibson woods that he had saved for years. And he would turn these things back into the relic that they were. And that's where I set the bar to. So Greg Platzer, with Greg Platzer Guitars now, he sold BCR Music and Sound a few years back and just started doing this out of his basement at home. And, dude, he does guitars for Aerosmith, Bon Jovi,
Wow.
Kiss. I mean, the list goes on and on. He was a guitar tech for the New York Dolls
Oh, yeah.
back in the day. A well-rounded Christian, a saved soul, and alcohol-free. And he needs to be that way, and I get it. But what a great guy.
Awesome.
That's
So he's been your role model in the industry you're in now.
He's been, that, like I said, he's the guy that I set the bar to. So, I've had some I've had some pretty interesting things come into my shop. I don't know if you follow, but I just had a 1966 EB2 bass come in.
I saw that post.
And when he got...
Was that Peters?
When the guy... Huh?
Was that Peters or somebody else?
Nah, somebody
Okay.
else. So when he brought it in, the headstock was split down the middle. And, it's a 66. It's not just the Gibson laminate on top. It's real abalone inlay, Gibson, and the crown and all that. Mm-hmm. He salvaged all of that. He's got all of those pieces and parts. But he wants me to put it back together and put strings on it. So the first person I called was Greg, and he's like, dude, this is what you do. And he said, I got faith in you. You can do it. Mm-hmm. So I did it. And that's what you just saw last week when it left my shop. Yeah. And so for me, that was another milestone, of incredible shit that Bryan does. And it's not incredible shit that Greg does anymore. It's incredible shit that Bryan does.
You're the guy now.
Well, I'm trying to be, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I'm trying to be, and I respect the dude, and he's got podcasts like you. He's way above me. He's a whole nother pay grade.
Hey, just in case this guitar player don't work out with me, there could be always opportunities. There's guitars a dime a dozen, right?
Ooh, I don't know about that.
They are, actually. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it used to be everywhere you went, guitar players were just piled up in the corners.
Yeah, a bunch of people that can play guitar piled up in the corners. Guitar players? That's a little bit.
Used to grow on trees, but we're thinning out.
I don't know about that, dude. I never had that inkling to want to get out and play. I mean, we had a couple garage bands back in the day, but I just wasn't interested. I don't know why. Maybe I'm weird.
Well, you wouldn't be in the music industry if you weren't weird.
That's true.
Yeah, we're all weird.
Yeah, we're a little bit weird.
Everybody's weird.
So, all right, Bryan. So, as we wrap up here, tell the folks that are listening and watching where they can check out your information, where you're located, how to get a hold of you, things like that, right?
Well, it's all out there on a big old website called www.bubbleupsguitarworks.com. Yes, I know it's a long name, and there's another story behind that. But anyway, 954-257-8906. It's my second wife. She knows I'm going to say this. She's heard me say it 1,000 times. But it's my cell phone. I live with it, and I answer it at all times. If you call me at midnight with a guitar issue, I'm probably going to charge you 4 times the amount I normally would, but I'm going to take that call.
Damn.
All right, so savings tip, call Bryan during the day.
Bingo.
Unless you got money to burn, and you really are in a pinch.
But other than that, the shop's located in the Willoughby Business Park, just south of Monterey, in beautiful Stewart. A lot of people say, "Hey, I kind of know that location." Here you go. I'm right across the street from the jail, baby. Everybody knows where that's at. So,
yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, you need a guitar fixed, come see me.
So
rock on.
So very cool. So this is awesome. I mean, how this all turned out, how our guests turned out, how there's like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon going on in this podcast, isn't it? It's weird.
I don't bake.
Oh, you don't eat pork?
Oh, I eat pork as fast as I can get it in my mouth, but I don't
yeah.
bake. You said I was bake? Oh, wait, you're talking about the actor.
And usually he says the drummers are the dummies, right?
I just pretended to do that because it was funny.
Hilarious bits. It was on the board.
Oh,
right?
that's our obligatory hilarious bit.
There you go.
All right, cool.
So, all right, cool. So, thanks, Bryan, for coming on this episode here to learn more about Blue Magic Strings. There, so great products there to check out. Check out your shop there. Obviously, this. I think what I sum up this whole episode here is craftsmanship, quality, and standing behind products.
It's something it's a dying breed.
Yeah.
It really is in today's world.
Yeah, because we live in a disposable world.
Exactly.
Just throw it away, buy something new, and just move on from it, right? So yeah, brother, we ready to wrap this sucker up?
I think so, but before we do, I want everybody to buy my album, buy my fan pack with it's got a branded shot glass, a CD, everything you need to live through the weekend, except for the actual.
Not a
whiskey
shot
itself.
glass is the main thing.
One of these.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah. I call it recyclable toilet paper.
It's a good thing you put it. You made it black.
There's a reason for that. But yeah.
Yeah. What do you got coming? What shows we got coming up here? So this is
And what do we do when we're done?
Yeah, so we just a little bit of plug there, shout out there. So this episode is going to drop on May 7th here. So
May 7th.
Yeah,
so then,
yeah,
upcoming, this is going to be.
you got a lot of stuff coming up
I
here.
do. I've got stuff coming up. And the main thing is it's my album release weekend on May. The album comes out officially released into the wild on May 17th. And then we're having the release party on May 18th in Jensen Beach. We're having the release concert on May 19th at the Rockin' Riverwalk.
I got my email because I'm a VIP.
You are? He's a subscribing
Yeah,
VIP.
I got one too.
And then we're having an after party at the Sneaky Tiki. We're all going to walk after the show over to the Sneaky Tiki and then just have a party.
And then afterwards, nobody's going to be able to walk out of the sneaky.
Yeah, but luckily there's a hotel built into the Sneaky Tiki, so leaving is an option.
And so is clothing. Anyway, so thanks for tuning into this episode in the podcast here. This guy is
I'm Kevin McLaughlin, and this guy is
Paul Robertson.
And we have the Riffs and Rhythms podcast in which we prove consistently that the riffs are better.
Anyway, cheers. Psych. Have a great night.